Yeah, going to Columbia, right now Columbia, to the South Valley of Indiana, across Melrose, over to, that Silver Toby Lake? It has to be because of the drainage, something. And it's like, it's gonna wind up at Hunting Park. We can't get around. You have to go to Michigan, even if from the south side.
Oh, yeah.
Or the Indiana. They just posted a picture of that, or down the High Street. They one on Briggs State. I think they have one over High Street.
Well, I live down,
Huge.
I live down by that same girl. I don't work because they're very loud. Yes, sir. If we don't do that, we should move into I understand it. I'm up the hill. But,
They give you the abbreviated version.
Yeah, we changed it up. He's so he was on
Yes.
Do you want one?
Yeah, I'm about to.
Okay. I'm like, I don't know why it's...
How are you? Oh, don't get up.
I'll be back.
Well, thank you. It's cold in Like I said, I'm right across the street. So right across the street.
Always sell. Always sell.
Really get you Calls it chastity. Chastity.
Oh, really? You picked him up? And you picked him up? That's terrible, man. You took him from the
Would you be okay with the amendment just to have members majority tends to choose everybody on the might be helpful.
Yes.
How do you want it?
It's fast.
There you go. I can use it all in him and I, but you can push further. He's pushing to
We've never in the past.
Well, you know, I have some but I can, you know, put on my clothes.
We didn't cut fan, you know. Oh, there he is. I didn't know it was gonna come out of Brooklyn. I have one question. Do you have enough energy to reach here? You don't have to say that publicly.
You showed up.
This is in the preset district.
She printed you two different ones.
Oh, okay. Perfect.
I'm impressed. I'm really impressed.
I'm the little circus.
If you need a rescue there, just let me know. I'll do it for you. Ah, boy. I'm ready.
Good evening. The Monday, August 28th, 2017, Common Council meeting is now in session. Would you all please stand for the invocation? The invocation is by Pastor Andre Stoner, Kern Road Mennonite Church. Thank you, sir, for coming.
Thank you. Council members, leaders of our community, thank you for the invitation to lead an invocation at tonight's meeting. My name is Andre Stoner. I am an ordained minister in the Mennonite Church, though I currently work as a neighborhood networker for the Near Northwest neighborhood.
Cool.
Before I lead us in a prayer, I do confess some mixed feelings about these kind of invocations. Church leaders are often asked to provide something of a religious veneer for the work that happens here. We're supposed to speak inclusive, non-denominational, uplifting words and hopefully not be too offensive. It can be an act of civil religion with a carefully scripted division of labor, clergy service, chaplains tending to the inner life, while politicians tend to the important outer life of politics. Yet it can also be a moment to remember that all of life, politics, economics, spirituality, are intertwined and interrelated. So with that in mind, I invite us to pause and pray together. Let us pray. Good and gracious God, Creator, you give us our very breath. We thank you for this, our community, this place where we live and love and work, where our children grow and learn. May this be a community where every child is safe, every young person can flourish, where there is meaningful work for all, where every elderly person is respected and treasured. Help us remember that an important measure of the health of our community is the experience of the weakest, the poorest, and the most vulnerable, the orphan, the stranger, the widow. Thank you for those who give of themselves to serve in public leadership roles, who study and meet and meet and meet and plan and plan. Bless their efforts. Strengthen and encourage them. Give them creativity. Guide them so that their labor may serve to help everyone in our community to thrive and flourish. We pray these things with gratitude, a sense of abundance, and with expectation. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Thank you. You may be seated. If you would, please turn your cell phones to silent. Thank you. Ms. Fowler, roll call, please.
Councilmember Preston?
Here.
Councilmember Kelly?
Here.
Councilmember Brogan?
Here.
Councilmember Varner?
Present.
Vice President Davis?
I'm present.
Councilmember Vorty?
Here.
Councilmember Furlick?
Here.
Councilmember White?
Present.
President Scott?
Present.
9 present.
Thank you. Report on subcommittee on minutes, please.
To the Common Council of the City of South Bend, the subcommittee has inspected the minutes of the August 14, 2017 meeting of the council and found them to be correct. Therefore, we recommend the same be approved.
I move to accept the report from the subcommittee on minutes.
I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. I just one special announcement. If you're here for 4817, the ordinance on changing tax abatement with the minimum wage to 1010, that has been continued. So 4817 is continued. With that, Ms. Fowler, would you please give reading to 1755?
1755, a resolution of the Common Council of the City of South Bend honoring Steel Warehouse for its long-term commitment to the community and wishing continued success as a valuable and ongoing business.
Thank you. Do we have a presenter?
Yes, we do. Thank you, Mr. President. Other representatives from Steel Warehouse here. I saw a couple of my neighbors, Mr. Norman. Mr. Norman, come up here, please. This will be a small gathering compared to, I guess, last Sunday when Steel Warehouse had a 70th birthday party, invited the entire business aspect, the local business aspect of it, and I would venture to say there were 500 people.
Yeah, we had all the employees there.
It was a very nice affair. In conversing at the table with Nate Norman, he never stops talking.
My nephew.
Oh, yes, nephew. I learned a few other things. I learned that Steel Warehouse is an international company that has 2,300 employees worldwide. It's far larger than the company we know in South Bend, and it's been successful over all these years for a variety of reasons, but because they've been able to grow and continue to operate the business and expand their business. So in honor of their 70th birthday, the South Bend Council provides a resolution 466517. It reads as follows: whereas Steel Warehouse is a family-owned business founded by Nate Norman. He opened a shop in 1947 in a small rented building with a used piece of equipment, a rented lift truck, and an iron wheel. Mr. Norman was an inveterate entrepreneur who had pursued many opportunities, but it was in the steel industry where his mix of hard-nosed discipline, commitment to excellence, and genuine care for people set himself and the company on a path of growth, innovation, and eventual industry leadership. And whereas Nate Norman's family tree has continued his original legacy, 6 of his children and 11 of his grandchildren currently work in the business, serving as stewards for the family and the company. Whereas, starting out with a mere handful of employees, Steel Warehouse embarked on a pattern of steady growth to become one of the industry's largest and most cutting-edge, I don't suppose there's cutting-edge steel, that just seems unappropriate, all right. Processing centers in the world, creatively devising new products and processes. Whereas Steel Warehouse's corporate headquarters and primary manufacturing facilities are located in the west side of South Bend, and during its 70-year history, it has prospered and has created over 1,000 jobs for the people in the region and throughout the United States, as well as in facilities in Central America and South America. Whereas Steel Warehouse is owned by the Norman family, a Jewish family whose dedication to various charitable efforts in the community has helped support and grow the local Jewish community, including by supporting synagogues, schools, and a local deli. And whereas Steel Warehouse and the entire Norman family have also made numerous contributions over the years to various charities in the community and have annually donated to many other local and national causes, with an emphasis towards programs that support children and families. The contributions have helped enrich our local institutions which serve South Bend community. Now therefore be it publicly and proudly resolved as follows. Section 1. On behalf of the citizens of South Bend, Indiana, the South Bend Common Council proudly and publicly congratulates and thanks Steel Warehouse and the entire Lerman family, who have worked over 70 years to build a small startup company into a full-service steel processing business that has long served the local community, South Bend community, and the city of South Bend through its growth and contribution to the community. Section 2. Common Council proudly recognizes Steel Warehouse and the Lerman family as valued members of our community and as a company of individuals who have helped keep the local business viable during difficult times by employing many citizens over the 70 years of its existence. Section 3. The Common Council and the citizens of South Bend wish Steel Warehouse and the Lerman family continued success with their local family-owned business and laud the many other contributions to the community made by Steel Warehouse and the Lerman family as a whole, as they celebrate the 70th anniversary of the company and their efforts at making it a successful business and an ongoing contributor to the community in many different ways for many years to come. Congratulations and best wishes.
Cool.
Say anything, you're quite welcome.
Well, I'll just say that I accept, very graciously accept this on behalf of our family and all the employees that work so hard and make it possible. We have a great team of people, and it's not one person, but we all work together, and family and non-family, and we continue to strive to continue to be successful. And the community has always been gracious to us. We love it here in South Bend. We hope we can continue to grow and add more employment here in town. And thank you again for all your support.
Sir, your name and address, just for the record.
What's that? Oh, Ted Lerman, 1220 Ridgedale Road.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you for the honor, and don't forget September 23rd, South Bend Jazz Festival.
This is why they do so well. I guess we give it to...
We'll come back to the council. Council, any comments, or we'll start with Ms. Preston?
Thank you so much for your long-standing investment in our community. It's businesses like yours that keep us great. Thank you.
With all of the business and economic pressures since 1947, what you've accomplished is truly formidable and so impressive. And it's a real point of pride for us that you're located here in South Bend, Indiana. So thank you so much for all you've done.
Happy birthday and continued prosperity to your company and to your workers. And I'm very well aware of your philanthropy throughout the community. Thank you. Great work. Appreciate it. Our paths as a company crossed over 40 years ago, and I'm just going to enter it into the record. I delivered the newspaper for a 6-year period on Riverside Drive. So it was a wonderful relationship then, and I look forward to continued relationship and benefit to the city of South Bend. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It's great to see all that you do. As the district member from the 6th District, get a chance to see a lot of your work over these years because you're on the Southwest side with all of us. And so thank you so much for being such a valuable person in our community.
Congratulations and best wishes for continued success.
Congrats and thanks for all the great things you do.
Congratulations, and just think about 70 years in this community, your commitment not only to your employees but to the city of South Bend. I heard about the party that was held at Century Center because a number of our members that attend the church that I do, they work for your company, and they have always given you high marks. So again, congratulations.
I'd like to move that we adopt this by acclamation.
I'd like to say a little bit. And thank you for commitment on in the 1st District on the northwest side as well. Just amazing that a local business, how you guys succeeded and what you gave back to the community is incredible. I wish you success in 70 more years, and hopefully you guys are back before another Common Council receiving another award. So thank you so much for what you've done.
Thank you so much.
Now we'll open up to the public. Anyone from the public wishing to speak in favor, please come to the podium.
My name is Samuel Brown. I live at 222 East Navarre Street in the city of South Bend. And I want to thank the Lermans for keeping people in the South Bend area employed. That's an honor by itself. I don't know all the Lermans, but I do know Danny Lerman, who is a fine musician, one of the finest. And I'll tell you a little story, make it short. The Elks Lodge on Western Avenue, I was putting on a show, and I had Bill Buchanan, we call him Bill. He got his own band and stuff, and he came to perform at the Elks Lodge. He said, Sam, Danny just called me. I said, who the hell is Danny? He said, Danny Lerman. I said, I don't know him. He said, well, he want to know if you get back here in time, can you come to the Elks and play it for him? And I said, yeah, if you recommend it, you know, bring it. The white boy came to the door, and the first thing I said was, shit. But anyway, Daddy came in and all the black people was looking like, who is this white boy? He stole the show. He played his horn, and they didn't want nobody else to play the dance. So I thank you, Lerman, for keeping everybody employed, and I thank Mr. Danny Lerman for saving my night.
Anyone else wishing to speak in favor? Seeing none, anyone wish to pass Sam Brown and speak against? Thank you. We'll turn it back to council.
Motion to adopt by acclamation.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you.
Just a point of order, I think the only person that may have been around longer than the 70 years would be Mr. Lord.
Thank you all.
Yeah, perfect, right over there.
No.
Told you, brother, he wanted your pictures.
Congratulations. You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Congratulations.
Yeah. You have good basketball.
Keena.
Oh, I'll be there.
Smiling cheese. That's nice.
Thank you, gentlemen.
You gotta stay with the rest of the meeting. That's nuts.
With that, report from city offices. We do not have any of this time. Susanna Fritzberg is representing the city. Hello. This time, I'll entertain a motion to rise to the committee whole and to allow our chair, Mr. Hickey, to present.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
The committee of the whole is now in session. This is a portion of the council meeting where the full council meets as a committee. During each ordinance, members of the public will have an opportunity to speak for up to 5 minutes, either in favor or against each ordinance. With that, would the city clerk please read 4717?
4717, public hearing on an ordinance to vacate the following described property: the southern portion of the North-South Street, east 213 feet of east right-of-way, South Taylor Street, and running 250 feet from the right-of-way of Western Avenue, include a portion of the running 34 feet from west right-of-way of William Street to south right-of-way of South William Street.
Is there a committee report?
Yeah, there sure is. We reviewed this afternoon and did not have a quorum, so we were not able to take action.
Okay. Is there a presenter? Please state your name and address.
Good evening. Joe
Good
Hurt, South Bend Cubs, 501 West South Street, South Bend. I know some of you were not at the meeting earlier, so I brought some additional diagrams just showing what we're looking at.
I've got the electronic.
We are asking for the vacation of the William Street cul-de-sac, which sits to the west of the synagogue, our team store, and then also to the north of the ballpark where it currently dead ends into the concourse of left field. We've been working with the city on this in hopes of doing this vacation. We're looking at relocating our fun zone area to the other side, enhancing the ballpark. Mr. Berlin is looking at investing another $300,000 into a city-owned asset for this. It'll just give us the ability to expand more in the ballpark. The current fun zone area is going to become more picnic space, which gives us the ability to host more people. We're on the verge of setting another attendance record. Part of our issue is, we're kind of running out of space inside the footprint. So this will give us the ability to do that. But also, in addition, some of those inflatables would actually be pretty tall and block some of the views of the new apartments that are going in as part of the new development as well. So I appreciate your help on this and consideration. And I know there were some questions asked earlier today. One in regards to Mr. Jaworski parking in front of his house. Actually, I had the opportunity to speak with Mr. Jaworski yesterday for quite a bit and just kind of shared some ideas and told him we'd be very respectful. Actually, his daughter Amy is here tonight as well, and we've had the opportunity to meet and talk briefly as well. We want to be respectful of them. We want to be very respectful of this is their neighborhood as well. They've been there longer than us, and we certainly respect that. So for us, in regards to the parking, we did some research, and back in May of 2012, Board of Public Works granted the permitting for the street signs for parking in front of their house. So on game nights, you must have the pass, a permit to park there. Obviously, from our standpoint, that would not change. We have no intention of that. Where we're looking at expanding the fun zone doesn't go out that far to their property. So from our end, there would be no change. And in talking with Rich Estes, the only way that would change is if the Board of Public Works wanted to change that. It would have nothing to do with us or Mr. Jaworski. So in regards to the historic preservation of the synagogue, we went to the preservation office this afternoon. It is not a local historic preservation site. It is designated on a state level, but for facade only. And with us doing no work to the building itself, it would not put anything in jeopardy from that standpoint. So I think that's it in regards to questions, at least from earlier today. But if anybody has anything else, I'm certainly happy to answer.
Questions from council?
Yes, thank you. In terms of, did you go over the fact that you shared this afternoon about the issue of your request tonight being more of a public, how can I put it? It was still owned by the Parks Department?
Yeah, actually, this piece of land would actually not be the ownership of the South Bend Cubs. It would actually just be the South Bend Parks and Rec. The facility is technically a South Bend park. So ultimately, it would be just granting more park space to the city as it is, and then we would just invest the $300,000 to improve it. So it would not be our property, so it's not anything that we would own.
Could you share what you've already invested like you did today in terms of last year?
Yeah, with rent and then our ticket surcharge, typically we're around $120,000 a year. That's the ticket surcharge is based on attendance numbers at the ballpark, and again, expecting to break that. We expect that to be more this year as well. And then in addition to that, Andrew has invested, or Mr. Berlin has invested, close to $8.5 million in the city-owned facility since he purchased the ball club back in 2011. So it's a great facility. It's something that we're very proud of. We want to make sure the city of South Bend and the citizens here continue to be proud of that facility. So I think, as you know, every year we tend to do some stuff and make improvements, and that's going to be something that we continue to do. So.
To the last two,
Yes.
You mentioned something that caught my attention. You said he was going to invest $300,000 into another asset in this city?
No, that's what, for us to move the fun zone and do the work, add the fencing and all that. So that would be $300,000.
Okay, I caught that differently. And is the neighbor's daughter going to share her comments part?
Yeah, I think so.
And we'll hold that until the public portion. Or is she
part of the presentation? I'd asked them to bring her.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Yeah, she's a part of the presentation. That's fine.
Just to see. I wanted to hear from your neighbor.
Name and address.
My name is Amy Jaworski. I reside at 415 William Street. Our house is right next to the Love Park. And we've been assured what my main concern is the parking. It's a small street. We're going to close it off a little bit. But we've been assured here by Mr. Hart that our parking would be safe. We've obtained the permits, and that's worked well for us. If we could keep that, that would be great. As of right now, that's my only concern.
Okay, cool. Seeing no other questions from council, we'll move to the public portion. Is there anyone from the public wishing to speak in favor? Please state your name and address.
Evening Council, Aaron Perry, Executive Director of Venues, Parks and Arts, 321 East Walter Street. As you're well aware, Orwoods Field within Coveleski Stadium is one of our most popular venues in the city and one of our most beloved parks. So 2 of the Venues, Parks and Arts boxes get checked there. We're extremely enthusiastic about the continued investment by Andrew Berlin and his team, and the manner in which they make the investments have been extraordinary. Locally, Joe Hart and his team have taken great lengths to ensure that the projects are respectful of the neighborhood, but that also meet our goals. And so as the Department of Venues, Parks and Arts, we're wildly enthusiastic about the continued improvements and are equally supportive of this one, which will increase the size of our public asset.
Seeing no one else in favor, I will move to those wishing to speak in opposition. Seeing no one, the public portion is closed. Back to the council. What's your pleasure?
I move that Bill 47-17 is sent to the council, full council, with a favorable recommendation.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? The motion carries. Could I entertain a motion to continue 4817 to 911?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? The motion carries. City Clerk, would you please read 4917?
4917, public hearing on an ordinance of the Common Council of the City of South Bend, Indiana, amending Section 4-51 of Chapter 4, Article 4 of the South Bend Municipal Code pertaining to licensing and regulations of scrap metal, junk dealers, valuable metal dealers, and recycling operations.
Is there a committee report?
Yes, the committee report is a favorable recommendation to the full council.
Thank you. Is there a presenter?
Thank you, Chair. Oliver Davis, 1801 Knapp Street, South Bend, Indiana, 46613. I rise to bring this as one of the sponsors, along with Councilman John Vorty. I'm glad to have him along with this. There's ordinance change. Mr. Kevin Gaffney came to me about in the end of June, July, and he reached out to Joe Marnoff and Tim Skies and some others to ask, can we consider updating our ordinance to allow those who work in the scrap metal business to be able to use Sunday as business hours. In the past, as we see in our former ordinance here that I left right beside you up there, I do apologize, that ordinance had where they could not utilize on Sunday. And so this proposed amendment eliminates the prohibition of Sunday business hours for scrap metal dealers, junk dealers, valuable metal dealers, and recycling operations, thereby permitting such businesses on Sundays. Plus, there were some other legal changes to update us, and I'd just like for our attorney to just share those to make it to the state. What do you share this afternoon?
Robert Palmer, and my office is here on the 4th floor. There were some outdated statute references in the ordinance as it was. We updated those statutory references, and we also updated definitional changes from the state statutes from what they were when the ordinance was passed way back when to the new ordinance.
So again, Mr. Kevin Gaffney. Mr. Gaffney is the owner of Paul's Auto Yard, which is located at 3300 South Main Street here in South Bend, Indiana, 46613. And so he came and asked, could we make this change? And tonight, this would be in honor of that change, so those businesses can pursue businesses. So on Sunday, it does, of course, leave the statement of legal holidays in place. because, they had no problem with that issue. They just wanted to be able to operate on Sunday.
Thank you so much. Are there any questions from council? Seeing none, we'll move to the public portion. Anyone from the public wishing to speak in favor? Anyone from the public wishing to speak in opposition? Seeing no one, the public portion is closed. Full council, what's your recommendation?
Thank you.
I'd like to move that Bill 4917 go to council with a favorable recommendation.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? The motion carries. I'd entertain a motion to rise and resolve from the committee of the whole.
So moved.
Second. All those in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Full council's now back in session. Ms. Fowler, would you please give third reading to 4717?
4717, third reading on an ordinance to vacate the following described property: the southern portion of the North-South Street East 213 feet east right-of-way of South Taylor Street and running 250 feet from south right-of-way of Western Avenue, include a portion of running 34 feet from west right-of-way of William Street, south right-of-way of the South William Street.
Move for passage of Bill 47-17.
Second.
Ms. Fowler?
Councilmember Preston?
Aye.
Councilmember Kelly?
Aye.
Councilmember Broden?
Aye.
Councilmember Barner?
Aye.
Vice President Davis?
Aye.
Councilmember Vorty?
Aye.
Councilmember Furlick?
Aye.
Councilmember White?
Aye.
President Scott?
Aye.
9 ayes.
Thank you. 4817 is continued, sorry. 4917, please.
4917, third reading on an ordinance of the Common Council of South Bend, Indiana, amending 4-51 of Chapter 4, Article 4 of the South Bend Municipal Code pertaining to licensing and regulation of scrap metal, junk dealers, valuable metals, and recycling operations.
Motion for passage?
Second. Ms. Fowler?
Councilmember Kelly?
Aye.
Councilmember Broden?
Aye.
Councilmember Barner?
Aye.
Vice President Davis?
Aye.
Councilmember Vorty?
Aye.
Councilmember Furlick?
Aye.
Councilmember White?
Aye.
Councilmember Preston?
Aye.
President Scott?
Aye.
9 ayes.
Thank you. Move to resolution 1744, please.
1744, a resolution of the Common Council of the City of South Bend, Indiana, waiving noncompliance with tax abatement procedures for real property commonly known as 5245 Dillon Drive, South Bend, Indiana, for CBK Land Development, LLC.
Mr.
President
Chair.
Scott?
Oh, go ahead, Mr. White. You probably just want to say the same thing I'm about to say.
Yes.
Go
For
ahead.
purpose of public hearing, could we hear Bill 1744, 45, 46, and 47 together, but we would need to vote separately?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Before we start on 1744 and 1746, I'd like to make a disclaimer that my business does purchase material from Chase Plastic. However, per legal counsel, there's no advantage to me or myself in that purchase, so therefore I can vote on these.
Cool.
Thank you.
Go ahead with your presentation.
Am I reading?
Oh. Yeah, we need to read them all,
And then hear
Okay.
committee report.
and then committee report. Ms. Fowler, if you could read.
1745, a resolution of the Common Council of the City of South Bend, Indiana, waiving noncompliance with tax abatement procedures for property commonly known as 1902 West Sample Street, South Bend, Indiana, for Vita Realty, LLC. 1746, a resolution of the Common Council of the City of South Bend, Indiana, waiving noncompliance with tax abatement procedures for personal property located at 5245 Dillon Drive, South Bend, Indiana, for Chase Plastic Service, Inc. 1747, a resolution of the Common Council of the City of South Bend, Indiana, waiving noncompliance with tax abatement procedures for real estate property commonly known as 402 North Sheraton Street, South Bend, Indiana, for Manufacturing Technologies, Inc.
Thank you. Is there a committee report for all these, Ms. Preston?
Yes, as a matter of fact, the Community Investment Committee met this afternoon and brings all of these to the full council with a paperwork.
Thank you. Is there a presenter?
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. Dan Buckenmeyer, Director of Business Development in the Department of Community Investment, 14th floor of this building. As you know, our department's mission is to support attraction, retention, and expansion of businesses in South Bend, bringing capital investment and jobs to our community. This gives me an opportunity to highlight a few companies that have done some great things over the past few years. Chase Plastics, as you can see in the top left there, started with a cornfield just about 2 years ago, and now a 125,000 square foot warehouse serving their customers, as well as 35 other kind of sub-facilities throughout the nation, has been built and is running very well. I had the opportunity to visit it in person. This combines, just for the record, Bill number 1744, CBK Land Development received a tax abatement for the land that it sits on. That is a spinoff of Chase Plastics, which also in Bill number 1746 has a personal property tax abatement for some of the things you see in the slides there, or the pictures on the slide on the right side, racking, forklifts, and the like. So we have representatives here from Chase and CBK if there are any questions on them. Moving on to manufacturing technology. Manufacturing technology is Bill number 1747. A very exciting South Bend firm, High-Tech Friction Welding. Just had a conversation with their representative here about the fact that some of their technology is going to be utilized in critical elements of the engine that will be taking a mission to Mars. So from South Bend to Mars, pretty exciting. They're staying and growing in South Bend. They received a vacant building abatement when they moved to 402 North Sheraton Street. And finally, IRBN on Bill 1745 is Vita Realty is the owner of the property. Another vacant building that was repurposed and got a 2-year vacant building tax abatement, and is making great investments and growing well in the Western Avenue corridor. Tax abatements are just one tool in aiding our community growth and vibrance, and like many of our tools, they involve a fair amount of paperwork and work on the compliance and so on of tax abatements. We're here because of really about a clerical error in submitting paperwork. The reason I'm here from DCI is because really I think the culpability is shared between our department, which had some breakdowns in getting the paperwork and following up, and it's shared with the companies, of course. Nonetheless, we're fixing the process on both ends. We're asking the council to approve a waiver in each of these cases to allow these great South Bend businesses to move forward with abatements granted, maintain their focus on growing, investing, and creating more jobs and success in the city of South Bend. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions from council this time?
Yes, in terms of, thank you, Mr. President. In terms of your understanding of how we're going to, from our conversation today, about us correcting this issue and also making a presentation before us to address the way you have corrected. Could you elaborate on what your understanding is about that?
At the next council meeting, we are going to provide a presentation. We've already done some work in-house. We've process mapped the process we follow and from stem to stern on tax abatements and so on. So we're already on the case of finding out where the breakdowns are and fixing them, so we'll be ready to give a comprehensive presentation to you and show that the gaps have been filled.
Good. Any other questions?
At what point are the forms actually given to the, oh, I'm sorry, Councilman Brody.
Go ahead.
Sorry.
Well,
At
you have
what
the floor.
point, at what point of the process are the forms actually given to the prospective companies? At the very initial tax abatement discussions?
Well, there's a form there are forms at the beginning. There is a final letter of agreement that they receive that outlines what forms they need to submit each year. Some of those are submitted to, this is another sort of breakdown in the system, is they need to be submitted to different places, some to the auditor, some to other offices in the city and so on. So we're trying to really streamline that whole process so it can be centralized, a lot simpler, a lot more customer friendly, frankly, for the companies that we work with.
And are these one-page forms, two-page
Oh, no,
forms, the
they're-
ones that are that we have non-compliance on?
The ones that we have non-compliance on, there were different ones for each of the 4, but I have them back in my seat, but I mean, there are 2 to 3 4-page forms that go into great detail about, in personal property cases, the investment depreciation on equipment, on similar information on the real property side. So they're very detailed.
And typically, when these are returned to the city, regardless of their final destination, would generally the chief financial officer be responsible for that? What do you see? What has been the process?
The chief financial officer in the company?
For the company, correct. Is that typically who submits these, or is it all over the map?
I think it varies for each respective company.
Thank you very much.
I thought it was appropriate, and the question is not so much necessarily to the presenter, but our clerk made a nice statement today that I thought was added to this discussion regarding her role in this.
Would you like Ms. Fowler to make that statement?
Yes.
Ms. Fowler?
Sure.
Go ahead.
Basically, we worked with DCI and Gavin.
Closer to the microphone, please.
We worked with DCI and Gavin a few months ago about compliance issues in regards to the CF1s and the non-compliant waivers, and what's the instrumental part in the process mapping, just to kind of figure out where the gap was. There are certain forms that by statute, by city code, they're supposed to be filed with the office of the city clerk. At one time, I think during the prior department heads, it was contracted out. It was contracted out to Core Horvath. They were doing it, and then it came back in-house. So there was a little bit of confusion on who was supposed to get the documents. Some of them were filed directly with the auditors, and some of them were filed with the clerk's office. We've since, Alkina has met with Angela, and they've gone through all the documents for the last 2 years and made sure that everything that the auditors have, everything that the council have, and we have on file, and DCI is all the same. And the process going forward, I think, is a really good, workable process and fun way to.
I thank you for sharing that.
Thank you. I have a couple questions. One, do you know of any other companies that might come before us for a waiver between now and the end of the year?
No, sir.
Okay. The other, I'll ask council, does the council want to hear from any of the petitioners?
I would just like to note that the records that they shared this afternoon is that's been documented, and that would be noted as their rationale of why this situation occurred.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. At this time, we'll open up to the public. Anyone wishing to speak in favor of 1744, 45, 46, or 47, please come to the podium. Seeing none, anyone wishing to speak against 1744, 45, 46, and 47, please come to the podium. Seeing none, we'll turn it back to council. We will take motions on each individual vote. And
I'd like to make a motion to adopt Resolution 1744.
Second.
Ms. Fowler.
1744. Councilmember Broughton?
Aye.
Councilmember Varner?
Aye.
Vice President Davis?
Aye.
Councilmember Vorty?
Aye.
Councilmember Furlick?
Aye.
Councilmember White?
Aye.
Councilmember Preston?
Aye.
Councilmember Kelly?
Aye.
President Scott?
Aye.
9 ayes.
Thank you. 1745.
I'd like to make a motion that we adopt Resolution 1745.
Second.
Thank you. Ms. Fowler.
Councilmember Varner?
Aye.
Vice President Davis?
Aye.
Councilmember Vorty?
Aye.
Councilmember Furlick?
Aye.
Councilmember White?
Aye.
Councilmember Preston?
Aye.
Councilmember Kelly?
Aye.
Councilmember Broden,
Aye.
President Scott,
Aye.
9 ayes.
Thank you. Motion on 1746, please.
I'd like to make a motion that we adopt Resolution 1746.
Second.
Ms. Fowler?
Vice President Davis,
Aye.
Councilmember Vorty,
Aye.
Councilmember Furlick,
Aye.
Councilmember White,
Aye.
Councilmember Preston,
Aye.
Councilmember Kelly,
Aye.
Councilmember Broden,
Aye.
Councilmember Varner,
Aye.
President Scott,
Aye.
9 ayes.
Thank you. Would you please give reading to 1752, please?
Do we do
47,
1747? We can do 47.
I'm sorry.
I'd like to make a motion that we adopt Resolution 1747.
Second.
Ms. Fowler?
Councilmember Vorty,
Aye.
Councilmember Furlick,
Aye.
Councilmember White,
Aye.
Councilmember Preston,
Aye.
Councilmember Kelly,
Aye.
Councilmember Broden,
Aye.
Councilmember Varner,
Aye.
Vice President Davis,
Aye.
President Scott,
Aye.
9 ayes.
Thank you. 1752, please.
1752, a resolution of the Common Council of the City of South Bend, Indiana, approving the amend the lease of building located at 209 Main Street, Suite 207, South Bend, Indiana.
Thank you. Is there a committee report?
Yes, the Personnel and Finance Committee held a second reading and committee meeting on 1752. We send this to the council with a favorable recommendation.
Thank you. Presenter.
Good evening, Council. Michael Schmidt, Assistant City Attorney for the City of South Bend, with offices up on the 12th floor here in this building. Before you have an amendment to a lease agreement between the City of South Bend and 207 North Main LLC. This is an amendment to a prior existing lease agreement. The city has been utilizing this building for a number of years. I believe we're going on about 10 years, at least that I could trace back. As we spoke about in committee today, this has been a long-standing relationship. The tenant, the Waterworks Division, is happy there. There are 12 employees that utilize this space. They are in the finance and billing departments for the Waterworks utility. It's conveniently located right across the street from sort of the customer service and payment center, and it's been a relationship that they wish to continue with the landlord. The term of this lease is for 3 years. The first year rate is actually the exact same as what it's been in prior years. And then each year after that, there's approximately about $1,000 to $1,200 increase, relatively minimal. And certainly as we think about all the investment that the city's made in downtown, it's great to see the landlord recognizing the city's commitment to it and giving us a very affordable rate on this. As that breaks down to the square footage, it's $1.12 per square footage of office space, which is, again, a very attractive rate. One of the key provisions of this amendment to the lease is the termination provision. In case the city elects to terminate this lease, if it decides to build new office space or to move the current 12 employees to a different space in the city, there's a 2-month penalty payment with 6 months notice, and then a commission that must be paid, which is 4% of the aggregate base rate. This comes out to about $2,300 plus the 2 months rent. So pretty reasonable should the city elect that it needs to get out of this lease. I further will represent that the city has complied with it's complied with the Indiana state statutes, provided the council with 50 signatures of property owners in the community who are in support of this lease, and we ask that you sign off and ratify this lease, and we continue this relationship with 207 North Main for the next 3 years.
Thank you. Council, any questions?
That termination agreement was not in the last agreement, termination clause like that.
There was a more of a, what I would call a traditional termination provision. This has been negotiated down because there has been some discussions as the city of whether or not we want to continue this operating out of this space for the next 3 years, as has been probably presented before council before, that we're looking at the best ways to manage our workforce, manage the space and where their offices are. So it's just something that the legal department and the different teams of the city are paying attention to, is how do we get out of these leases? Let's make sure that we're not forever married.
Appreciate it. Thank you for doing it.
Any other questions? Seeing none, we'll open up to the public. Anyone from the public wishing to speak in favor of 1752, please come to the podium.
Jesse Davis, P.O. Box 10205, South Bend, Indiana. I think it's a good idea to make sure that we're not married into the leases and so forth, but the gentleman made a comment that they gathered 50 signatures from residents or homeowners.
Property owners, businesses
Just
around the
property
downtown.
owners. Is that list public?
Yeah.
So we can get a copy of that from the clerk's office?
Yes.
Okay.
It's already in your packet.
Anybody else wishing to speak in favor? Seeing none, anyone wishing to speak against 1752, please come to the podium. Seeing none, we'll turn it back to council.
Move for the adoption of 1752.
Second.
All, Ms. Fowler does the roll.
1752, Councilmember Furlick.
Aye.
Councilmember White.
Aye.
Councilmember Preston.
Aye.
Councilmember Kelly.
Aye.
Councilmember Broughton.
Aye.
Councilmember Varner.
Aye.
Vice President Davis.
Aye.
Councilmember Vorty.
Aye.
President Scott.
Aye.
9 ayes.
Thank you. 1753, please.
1753, a resolution of the Common Council of South Bend, Indiana, approving a memorandum of agreement between the City of Indianapolis, Indiana, Department of Public Safety, and the City of the South Bend Fire Department regarding Indiana Task Force 1.
Thank you. Is there a committee report?
Yes, the Health and Public Safety Committee met earlier today and sends this to the council with a unanimous favorable recommendation.
Thank you. Presenter.
Good evening, council. My name is Stephen Cox, Fire Chief with the South Bend Fire Department with offices at 1222 South Michigan Street. With me is Battalion Chief Chris Baker, who is our Assistant Director of the Indiana River Rescue School. Tonight we come and respectfully request the council to approve this resolution allowing the South Bend Fire Department to participate in not only training, deployment, and other activities with Indiana Task Force 1, who is administered through the Indianapolis Fire Department in the city of Indianapolis. This comes with a lot of different benefits to the city of South Bend, along with training, federal monies, monies for backfill on deployments, etc., that we might be able to take place in, and experience that our team members would be able to engage in on deployments and be able to bring that experience back here, assisting us with any sort of local deployment as well. So we're happy to answer any questions of the council this evening.
Vice President Davis.
Two things. Could you give us a little history, short, about how this came, another key, how this came to pass? And could you explain backfill and what that of us being able to receive backfill dollars? What does that specifically mean?
Okay, if I could start with the second question first, and I'll let Chief Baker go ahead and
That's
answer
fine.
the other one. Backfill is basically when we send individuals from the fire department out on deployments, such as Hurricane Harvey. Right now, Indiana Task Force 1 is in Houston, performing search and rescue operations in Houston currently. So when those individuals from our team or our department deploy to other parts of the country because of a natural disaster or other event, basically what happens is they're not here to be able to work shifts here at our department. So they typically will have to be filled with overtime positions. So being a part of Indiana Task Force 1 or a part of a FEMA task force allows the department to bill federal government and FEMA specifically for not only the wages and benefits of the individuals that are away on deployment, but also to cover the backfill, the overtime costs associated with filling their positions locally here while they're away.
Thank you.
And I'll let Chief Baker answer the other question.
I believe the first question was, how did this come to be?
That's correct.
Okay. So this has been a work in progress for some time. As you know, we have the Indiana River Rescue School right here in South Bend, which brings numerous members from all over the country that are on teams such as Indiana Task Force 1 here for our water rescue training. So having that facility, a lot of these teams recognize our abilities to provide assistance to them with our instructors. So over the course of several months working through that, they had realized that it would be a good partnership. What we're also trying to accomplish out of this is to become a FEMA, so a federally recognized Center for Training Excellence in Swift Water Rescue. So by doing so, we anticipate bringing in all of the members from the different 28 FEMA teams to our city to train for Swift Water Rescue.
Well, we're the only one in the state that have the Swift Water.
Well, right now Indy Task Force 1, they have a Swift Water team that can go out, and then we would be the next one to go out right now.
But they train here, though.
What's that?
They train here?
Yes, we've trained
We're
members
the only
from-
location that they train at.
Yes. We are probably the premier training facility for this type of, for swift water rescue, flood response. We're the premier training center in the Midwest by far. We draw people from all over the country here.
You see, that in the middle. I like to hear that. Good stuff.
Yeah, we train approximately 200 plus people here annually in our school, and then we host a water rescue conference that's actually coming up at the end of this month, where we will have members that have responded to these type of disasters.
And some of the people
200 of these members are going to be here.
You said some of the people you're trained are in Houston right now.
Correct.
Cool. I'm at peace.
Any other questions from council members?
Just
Ms.
a comment.
Broden?
We have a unique asset in the East Raceway, and progressively over the years, I have seen you take advantage of that. And not only just, the East Raceway, the physical asset, but your personnel, and rising to the occasion in these opportunities to instruct and to lead the state and the nation. So I commend you for seeing this opportunity to go for this FEMA designation. I thank you for seeing that opportunity and going for it and bringing it for the council today.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Seeing none, we'll open up to the council. Or open it up to the public. Anyone from the public wishing to speak in favor of 1753, please come to the podium. Name and address, sir.
Samuel Brown, 222 East Milwaukee, in the city of South Bend. And I hope the council will do the blessing that Chief Cox really wanted. That's task force. When I was working in NIPSCO, we had gas and electric. And whenever storms came up, like in Michigan, Illinois, especially on the line side, I had 16 years on the line side and had 17 years in gas. So I know how it is to be deployed. Michigan, Illinois, Ohio, especially when you have a disaster. And then you have to, they pick up the buildings and stuff when you deploy, wages and stuff like that. So I understand what he's talking about. And they need you to bless us, do it. It's a good thing.
Thank you. Wait, police officer speaking for, right?
Council Scott Roskowski, 701 West Sample Street, South Bend, Indiana. I think this is the only time I'm going to use part of the paramedic thing here, that I can actually positively say something good about a side effect. And that would be us. This affects us as well, meaning the police department. We have one member full-time who's a FEMA, and we have one in training from the police department. So it's beyond the swift water rescue. It's a whole bunch of other things. I could go on and about the training facilities they have at the fire department, but I won't. But absolutely, this is a benefit to us as the police department and our community as well, just beyond the recognition stage. And we saw what happened last year with the flooding. The fire department was phenomenal, and this is what collaboration looks like. I know it's not very often you see police and fire department together, but we have a pretty good relationship thus far. And with the new addition to the battalion chief, even better.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak in favor? State your name and address, please.
Linda Carter, 1606 West Sanford, South Bend. I just want to say I appreciate what they're doing. We had to call my niece several times to make sure she was out of Houston. She lived right in the eye of the storm, and she got out safely, and she's in Illinois now. And it would be such a shame for their families to suffer here because they went to help our families there. So I hope they get what they need so they can take care of themselves as they go out and take care of others.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to speak in favor? Seeing none, anyone wishing to speak against? Seeing none, I have one comment. My niece, nephew, and their baby was water rescued just earlier today in Houston. So, turn it back to council.
Move for passage of 1753.
Second.
Ms. Fowler.
Councilmember White.
Aye.
Councilmember Preston.
Aye.
Councilmember Kelly.
Aye.
Councilmember Broden.
Aye.
Councilmember Varner.
Aye.
Vice President Davis.
Aye.
Councilmember Vorty.
Aye.
Councilmember Furlick.
Aye.
President Scott.
Aye.
9 ayes.
Thank you. 1754, please.
1754, a resolution of the Common Council of the City of South Bend, Indiana, appointing an agent/negotiator to represent the Common Council for the upcoming fire department negotiations.
As presenter, I'm going to relinquish my duties to Vice President Oliver Davis to handle the process on 1754.
All right. Do we have a committee report? For 1754?
Health and Public Safety, this
Okay.
passed unanimously
All right.
in our council meeting earlier today.
Thank you, Councilwoman
Committee.
Broden. Now, for our presenter.
I'll present from here. This will be short and sweet. This is a resolution of the Common Council to appoint our agent and negotiator, Bob Palmer, our legal counsel, to represent us during the fire negotiations. Part of that team, we would like to make one quick amendment to it on Chapter 5, just stating, Council also appoints advisory common council negotiating team consisting of Joe Broden, John Vorty, and Tim Scott. So that's in Section 1. Sorry about that. And
Are you in 1 or in 5?
Up higher
In
is
5.
the 5th paragraph, I believe.
And also, I'll turn this over to Bob first. So it would be in the title, an
Title.
advisory common council negotiating team. And then whereas in 5th paragraph, after chief negotiator, to state an advisory common council negotiating team. And then in section 1 would be the consisting of Joe Broden, John Vorty, and Tim Scott.
Motion to accept the amendment?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Thank you, Bob.
With that, that is my presentation. Oh, I'm sorry, Vice President Davis.
I'm okay.
Would you like to do the formality?
No, you superseded the president. Yeah, cool.
Now I relinquish.
I'm good. Well, first of all, any other questions? Any other questions, comments regarding the president? Okay. Those would like to now open it up for the public. Those would like to speak in favor of this. This is a resolution. Anybody like to speak in favor? Please come forth. Anybody like to speak in opposition? Please come forth. Seeing none, we now turn that back over to our council. We close our public hearing.
Motion for adoption as amended?
Second.
Okay, then we have Ms. Fowler. Could you give us our vote?
Councilmember Preston.
Aye.
Councilmember Kelly.
Aye.
Councilmember Broden.
Ms. Broden?
Does that include as amended?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Aye.
Councilmember Varner.
Aye.
Vice President Davis.
Aye.
Councilmember Vorty.
Aye.
Councilmember Furlick.
Aye.
Councilmember White,
Aye.
President Scott,
Aye.
9 ayes.
And I turn this back over to you.
Thank you, Vice President Davis. Great job. We will now turn to first readings. Ms. Fowler, would you give first reading to 5017, please?
5017, first reading on an ordinance of the City of South Bend, Indiana, levying taxes and fixing the rate of taxation for purposes of raising revenue to meet the necessary expenses of the civil City of South Bend for the fiscal year ending in December 31st, 2018.
Mr. President, I would like to make a motion that this be sent to the Personnel and Finance Committee, that it be set for second reading and public hearing on September 25th and third reading and disposition on 10/9.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. 5117, please.
5117, first reading on an ordinance of the Common Council of the City of South Bend, Indiana, appropriating monies for the purpose of defraying the expenses of several departments of the civil City of South Bend, Indiana for the fiscal year beginning January 1st, 2018 and ending December 31st, 2018, including all outstanding claims and obligations and fixing a time when the same shall take effect.
I make actually the same motion to be sent to the Personnel and Finance Committee, be set for second reading and public hearing on September 25th and final disposition, third reading on the October 9th.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. 5217.
5217, first reading on an ordinance of the Common Council of the City of South Bend, Indiana, appropriating monies for the purpose of defraying the expenses of the designated enterprise fund of the City of South Bend, Indiana for the fiscal year beginning January 1st, 2018 and ending December 31st of 2018, including all outstanding claims and obligations and fixing a time when the same shall take effect.
Same motion that this be set for second reading and public hearing on September 25th and third reading and disposition on October 9th.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. 5317, please.
5317, first reading on an ordinance of the Common Council of the City of South Bend, Indiana, amending the South Bend Municipal Code, Chapter 16, Article 2, Section 16-6 through 16-9 and 16-12, Articles 3 at Section 16-24, Article 6 at Section 16-48M, Articles 8 at Sections 1655-56 and 1659B, to address the procedures and special fees related to the trash, refusal, and other solid waste collection and disposal.
I move this be sent to the Public Works and Vacation Committee and set for second reading and public hearing on 9/11.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. 5417, please.
5417, first reading on an ordinance of the Common Council of the City of South Bend, Indiana, appropriating, adopting, and approving the South Bend Public Transportation Corporation's 2018 budget and levying the taxes and fixing a rate of the taxation for the purpose of raising revenues to fund the South Bend Public Transportation Corporation, South Bend, Indiana, for the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2018.
I move this be sent to the Personnel and Finance Committee, set for second reading and public hearing on September 25th and final action on October 9th.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. Unfinished business. Need a motion on 1748, please. I forgot, do we read these? We don't have to read them.
I'll make a motion that 1748 be sent to BZA.
And
For 9/6 and
9/6.
third and final disposition on 9/11?
Okay.
Is that your
Second.
motion?
That's my motion.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you.
I'll make a motion that 1749, 1750, and 1751 be sent to the BZA on 9/6 and set for second and third reading on 9/11.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. Is there any new business?
Just want to invite the public, if this is the right time.
Yes.
We'll have our fourth budget hearing. We'll be hearing from Transport and the Police Department. That meeting will be this coming Wednesday, which is August 30th, and the meeting will start at 5 o'clock.
Thank you. Mr. Farner?
Thank you, Mr. President. I noticed in the newspaper earlier this week that the DTSB organization has taken upon itself an effort to discourage the seems to be growing problem with panhandling downtown by encouraging people through signage and word of mouth to not physically support the panhandlers. I think that's a nice attempt, and it may well be overdue. However, I have to say that when the panhandlers leave downtown, they go elsewhere. And it shouldn't be a surprise that you'll find them standing on Lincoln Way and Ironwood. I know they're on Ireland Road. I see them frequently. I've seen them elsewhere on US 31 or 933, whichever you choose to identify it as. I think this needs to be a citywide effort. I've seen it in Sarasota, Florida. It seems to be effective. We have world-class facilities and treatment facilities across the board for all sorts of problems in this community. I think if the folks don't want to take advantage of them, certainly that's their right, but there comes a time when there are so many that it becomes a nuisance for the general public to have to deal with them standing in roadways, which I think creates a hazard. So if we're going to do this downtown, we need to do it citywide. And to that extent, I would be happy to help or see that whatever organizations, but I think the city needs to take the lead in this. I think DTSB was just probably doing what they were asked to do. And I don't think you've been asked just for downtown. I think you have to ask for the city as a whole, because many people see this as an issue. Thank you.
Dr. Varda,
Yes, sir.
I concur with your concerns. That's why we have discussed that we need to have a plan. It does not have to be the Portland plan or the Albuquerque plan, but we have to have something that covers the entire city and all options that includes everything. So I hope and I look forward to, again, working with whoever leads out from this council regarding that. And I think the wishes that we had outlined in our resolution should be looked at, because we had already taken the $25,000 out for that, and it gave it up to the mayor to come up with something. And I think now is our time as a budget to make sure that some funds are included, to make sure that signage or whatever happens to deal with that. We still have our situation under the bridge, and it's going to get more challenging. And the new development that's going to be in our area on Indiana Avenue is not going to be able to house all of those people, and we have to come up with something to be able to address that. So I concur with you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Vorty.
Just a brief moment. I think it's appropriate to congratulate fellow council member Gavin Furlick on his wedding.
Yes, indeed. You came here straight to celebrate with
Anything
us.
else? That is new business.
Yes.
Any other new business?
Is there any cake and ice cream in the back?
No, that'll be next year.
Okay.
Delayed honeymoon for you, Albert.
Okay.
Thank you.
There is a mayor's night out, something coming up.
Thursday.
Do you know where that's going to be?
Adams High School.
Okay, thank you.
Is that it? All right, we'll move on to privilege of the floor. This is where individuals who wish to address the council must state their name and address. Individuals are limited to 3 minutes only. The maximum time limit for this portion of the meeting shall be 30 minutes. Individuals may address only issues which the city has jurisdiction. Individuals shall not be permitted to address topics which the common council heard previously on this agenda. With that, Mr. Furlick, will you please give the time and give like a 30-second warning? Yep. And go.
Samuel Brown, 222 East Rivard Street in the city of South Bend. First of all, I want to thank the council. I just got back from my first human and civil rights meeting down in Indianapolis.
Cool, you went.
And I am so honored to serve, and because of the council voted me on the Human Rights Commission. I got to do this. I'm going to get a little emotional because one night I went to bed and I started crying because I wish my mother was alive and I could tell her about this experience. Because I came up poor and I always wanted to do something where my mother would be proud of me. And when I sit here on that conference and I was around all these brilliant people, and all this information was coming at me, I was just overwhelmed by it. I was honored. I said a prayer. I said, Mama, I said, I hope you're proud of me. And thanks for listening to that, because it meant a lot to me. When we move on to the panhandling, I heard that we are been asked by the leaders of our community to give the money to people or organizations trying to help these people. By being poor and being on welfare, it's really hard for me not to give somebody some money. You don't know who's scamming you. You don't know who's really hurting. But I was raised off of welfare, and we needed that food. I know I didn't be burned out in a fire and didn't have nothing left, and people came and helped my family, brought us clothes, brought us food. I don't know the answer to this. I really don't. But we gotta help some of the people. How to stop the scamming, I don't know. I'm riding in my car this morning. Tom John took $20,000 of his own money. He said he's trying to figure out a way so the people would get this money and work. He don't know how to do it himself. Tom is a millionaire. He said, but I got to do something for the people in the storm. He said, I'm giving $20,000, and he's saying, help me so the money go to the right place where it won't be with the scammers. All I'm asking you people are, you the leaders of our community, get this doggone homeless, whatever you want to call them, get it right. Because there's people out there that really need it. Yeah, there's some people scamming.
Sam, you have 15 seconds.
But get it right, because y'all are leaders of our community. Please work on this thing. I don't have the answers, but I just feel sorry for anybody who don't have food.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Next name and address.
Jesse Davis, P.O. Box 10205, South Bend, Indiana. First thing I want to ask is for the council, please, to keep the public informed on what's going on with the police tape issue now that it's been brought back to the local court system. You know, depending on the news media to put things out there, we don't get much information. So, you know, please find a way to keep the public informed on what's going on and if that's moving forward. We don't want to wait 5 more years for that to be resolved. I want to touch bases on the homeless issue as well, and the panhandling. Number one, as I'm sure you're all aware, the Supreme Court said it is completely legal for those people to be out there and hold a sign and wait for a charitable contribution. It's no different than when our mayor went out last year and rang a bell for the Salvation Army, or when the firemen stand out in the street with their boots collecting money. I know there's scammers out there, there's no question about that, but I mean, this is an issue where it's something that's legal. So by posting signs saying don't give, you're kind of borderline discriminating against those folks. And it's going to be real touchy whether the ACLU takes a look at this. I mean, you know, we can sit here and put as many signs as we want. There's no way to enforce it, to stop them from doing it. You have no way to enforce it legally. So why waste the money on these signs? We hired a guy for $50,000, from what I heard, to go out and approach these people. Let him do his job. Don't waste money putting more signs up. They're just impeding the sidewalks that we already can't get around on. Okay? As far as the homeless goes, please find out what the mayor's committee is doing. I had a chance to go over his report that just came out. There's almost nothing in there that has anything to do with mental disabilities or facilities to help with that. No long-term solutions. It's like they didn't even discuss the issues of mental instabilities. That's the problem with the majority of the people that are out there. Not just that some of them are addicts, but they have mental incapacities, and some of them are addicts because of that. They're self-medicated. And it doesn't look like the mayor's committee even touched bases on solving that part of the issue. That's a huge piece of that puzzle that has to be solved. We need some facilities. Somehow we've got to be able to attract someone here in order to take care of that problem.
Thank you. Thank you. Next name and address, please.
Rod Goodchild, 837 South.
24th Street, South Bend, Indiana, 46615. Gentlemen, I have, and women, it's fantastic news. I met with Patrick Shanahan, I believe is his last name, from the Parks and Venue and Rec Department, and he showed me the site. It's like when I walked with the University of Notre Dame on our trail from 300 miles to Father Soren, and they said, boy, you couldn't believe the naysayers in South Bend. You couldn't believe the people that said we will not have a Notre Dame in our community. And you know, there was 32 people, and they had those beautiful oak sticks. When I went and saw the mass outside next to Bond Hall, it was close to the Lockney swimming pool, and I was so blessed. They let me touch them in the spirit of what that walk meant to all these people. The spirit of what those 32 of them, and yes, we have 16 spirit animals, now beautiful carvings in South Bend, Potawatomi Park. It's 16 by the power of 2. My father, who came from an Indian reservation, and Father Sheedy, who was married and has supported all of our efforts at Notre Dame over the years. He was the former dean who came with Hesburgh and Joyce. And it's just a wonderful feeling to share with everybody. We're going to get the welcome sign. It'll be the 16th spirit animal. It was approved today. They're going on what you call the bid will be placed in September. By the end of September, they'll have it approved, and by the 1st of October, it will be put in the ground. 45-foot, beautiful, beautiful, the mightiest oak tree, right in the ground, right in front of the entrance to the zoo. Well, everybody will see that welcome, and then on the back, all 6 spirit animals. I can't thank enough. My father's been watching over me. The spirits have been wonderful. As you all know, he comes from Menominee, Native American tribe, 20 miles west of Green Bay, Wisconsin, the great tidal town, USA. So it just gives me tremendous pleasure to say that this has been accomplished. I thank everyone.
You have 30
as I
seconds.
shared with you. What did you say, 15?
30.
30, thank you. With Gavin, he's just, and when I hear everybody congratulating your father when you go home, I know he's going to be excited. And I will say, these 16 are done. You'll see there's 21 here on my shirt. If the council and the rest of the people, as everybody said, it's a wonderful opportunity. There was 5 left. If you say, good child, I'd love to see them. I know where all the other 5 will be. If we don't have any support, then the 16 are history.
Thank you,
They're
sir.
done. They're
Good
done.
job. Good
Thank
job.
you.
Next, name and address.
Hi, my name is Linda Carter, 1606 West Sample, South Bend, Indiana. I am here basically about the homeless situation as well. And if it's okay, she has some information that I'd
To the
like
clerks.
to give to the clerk. But in response to the South Bend Working Group's report on chronic homelessness, I thought it was an excellent report. It gave details as to what the situation was, the depth of the problem of the chronic homelessness. I'm not here to add to that report. I'm here to try and fill a gap, and that being to address ones that have been in long-term facilities that support the homeless. There are ones that have been there for a year, 2 years, and they've benefited from the mental health services, the physical health services, educational services, and they're ready to transition into the community. What I'm offering is help to make that transition. I'm asking for the city. There are homes that are vacant and need to be rehabbed. There are homeless people that need homes. We're asking for those homes and to match them up with the people that your South Bend Housing First determines are ready to transition into those homes. What that will do will make more space for those that are chronically homeless and on the street. I don't have the capacity to address them and all of their problems, but you do. You're already doing that. To some degree, they're at the Center for the Homeless. They're treating them at different mental facilities. The hospital, they address some of the health issues that they have. But as you move ones out of the facilities that have been there for a year, 2 years, that are ready to transition, then it makes more space. What we're offering with the program is education for home maintenance, community gardens, wherever they reside, wherever you indicate that they'll reside. Encourage them to have a garden, something they can work on themselves, something they can help produce food and feed themselves. And it gives them something to do during the day, because otherwise they're just standing around. They don't have anything to do. The other is a bikeability program. Some of them, because of their issues, maybe it's drug, alcohol, or mental health issues, they may not be able to drive or possess a driver's license. They can ride a bike. We can give them
20
a bike.
seconds.
20 seconds, a bike, and then also have an open house in the graduation ceremony that applauds their efforts in the community and gets the community, their family, the city council like yourself on board with what they're doing. So that's what we'd like to offer today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, name and address.
Hello, my name is Donald Sills on behalf of Canadian National Railway with offices in Homewood, Illinois. I'm here on behalf of the initiative of Ms. Carter. The homeless, as I rode in today, the homeless people are living up under the bridges that our trains are running. Each year, many of the people that we go to accident investigations are homeless people. Unfortunately, it's an unfortunate part of my position at Canadian National Railway. However, reading the proposal that Mrs. Carter wrote up, Canadian National Railway has also donated monies to her program to help toward whatever initiative she has that she's putting together. So as a member of Canadian National Railway, we'll continue to be railroaders in our community. And not only that, whatever program she has put together, me, myself, and along with other railroaders will help to rehab homes. I'm in a management position, so a little bit of pull there. So, so we can also bring people in who work in the neighborhoods to help rehab, clean homes, whatever necessary to get done. Also, I've known that, unfortunately, when I was younger, I was also homeless. So, as you see, I'm not homeless now, but I made a big change. I'm sure that many people who are homeless have many talents that we can help bring out and bring about. However, they do need the assistance, they do need the help, and I'm pretty much sure that as a member of the railroad and as a member of the community, we will keep trying to do our best.
Thank you. Next, name and address. Go ahead, you line up if you want. Keep the ball rolling.
Perry Mason, 1836 Peachtree Lane, South Bend. Greetings, council members. I just wanted to provide you a quick update on our concerns with the Echoes project, the development of the former church off of Ironwood. Several members of our community meet on a regular basis, and I'm here to speak for all of us tonight. The neighbors made arrangements and met with the developer on August 17th. We went to the meeting, which was 2 days after the APC withdrew their favorable recommendation of the latest site plan. The plan now includes 30 houses, so the APC was concerned about a higher density than previously planned. We were expecting to be able to provide input with the developer on a plan with less density. That did not happen. They presented the identical 30-house plan to us, and in their words, 30 units works for us. We needless to say, were very disappointed. We offered several ideas, reminded them that both sides were directed to be willing to compromise, but there was little response on their side. This once again demonstrates to us their apparent lack of interest in our opinion. In fact, one neighbor spoke up to the developer, and he called him out for saying, "Don't you live 2,000 feet from the development?" And although he does not live directly up against the development, he lives in our community, he lives in our neighborhood. And he said, "I live here, these are my neighbors, and that's why I'm speaking up." On May 22nd, the council meeting, the original 22-unit plan was tabled. They were encouraged to speak with the neighbors to try to get some sort of acceptance. Since that point, they've purchased a new lot, adding to their acreage. Their space increased by only 13%, but now they are proposing a 36% increase in the number of houses with this new 30-house plan. Another way to view this is if you look at our neighborhood as a whole, They are proposing a 33% increase in density and only 6% of the land total. Finally, parking still is a major issue with us. Yes, it's true that they're meeting the minimum code for parking spaces per unit, but nothing in our community is about minimums. This plan is, their plan has added street parking. However, it's located around a racetrack-style thoroughfare. And at the same time, they've eliminated all of the two-car driveways that was in the original 22-house plan.
You have 20 seconds.
Thank you. So after being told that parking was inadequate, they reduced it even further. So this virtually guarantees that this development will negatively impact parking and increase congestion in our neighborhood. We understand houses will be built. We can accept that they will be unlike the character of our current neighborhood. We simply ask again that
Time is up.
the metro neighborhood.
Thank you. Next, name and address, please.
My name's Benjamin Redmond. I live at 1334 King Street, far northwest neighborhood. I've been there a year and a half. I moved there to help a friend out to remodel his house because he wanted to do that. It was ran down. The neighborhood's kind of rough. And he couldn't do it because his wife had a stroke. So I came here. I'm originally from Seattle, Washington. I've been here, like I said, about a year and a half, so relatively new. I worked at Notre Dame for a little bit remodeling the stadium. I'm a professional contractor now. I started my own business recently, and I was approached by Linda when she heard that I was starting my business to see if I would work with her in this initiative of the IAGO to train people who were approved, homeless people who were approved to enter the program, teach them basic stuff. I'm happy to do that if the initiative goes forward. I thought with her pitch and her idea and her track record helping people, it'd be worth my time and my effort to help out. And I'm not in a rush to leave South Bend, especially if I can help improve it. With that in mind also, I'd like to make a comment a little bit about the panhandling. I'm from Seattle. I have some experience with panhandlers. It is a near impossibility to get rid of panhandling. To manage it, though, it is possible. Seattle did something like designate areas where you can and cannot do it because of safety concerns. They even require permits from panhandlers, so you have to apply to get a permit. I don't know if you can do that or not, but addressing the homeless in other ways than just telling them not to beg is really how you address the majority. There's some people who never get to change their lifestyle, but there's many homeless ones that you can help through initiatives like this or mental health or whatever else they need to get them to just lessen the issue. Housing is a big deal. We don't want to. I don't think you would want to see tent cities like there are in Seattle. It's a blight on Seattle, but it's the best they have currently. So addressing it now before it gets to that is really important. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Chief, there are two more. Good gentlemen.
Scott Roszkowski, 701 West Hamilton Street, South Bend, Indiana, 46601. I will be brief. The council asked for it, and the council is receiving it. Commendation versus condemnation. You wanted to know about officers performing phenomenal? Here's an example. Last Thursday, 9:30, Stanley Clark. You read the newspaper, you saw it on the media. This is something that was a volatile situation. It could have been, it may have been a lot worse than what it was. But due to the resolve, the professionalism, the integrity of the officers that were involved, I was there, I saw it firsthand. That could have been a heck of a lot worse than what it was. And that came out in the best case scenario. So I think with that being said, I put it back to the council. You asked for it through health and public safety, even just passing on the sidewalk, you would ask for to be made aware. And we also did it. You were aware of the Board of Public Safety. You also received a copy of all the commendations from the last month. I am working on July, which you will receive shortly. So there you have it. Thank you, and the ball's in your court.
Thank you, Chief.
We'll follow through. You got it.
And last but not least,
Sharon Benicki, 3822 Ford Street. Just real quick, I don't know what can be done, but the panhandlers are everywhere, and there are a few that have taken up residence on Mayflower and Western, and they'll be out there 9, 10, 11 o'clock at night, standing in the median. It's not safe for them. It's not safe for the drivers. Something needs to be done before somebody gets hurt. Thanks.
thank you. With that, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to adjourn.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
I thank you.
Good night,
Okay,
everybody.
now, I got all your stuff signed. Sorry. Yeah, and perfect.
They had locked down.
I sent you that note, Bob.
Hey, Oliver.
Yes, ma'am.
I was gonna get up and speak, but I said I was gonna get up and speak, but I guess I'm just lazy up here. But I thank Bob for the ordinance, all those spots that needed to be updated from before.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's why I sent him all that stuff, that history from the police station. They wanted changed a long time ago. We didn't get to it. So I was gonna get up and speak, but you know I'm always slow to the draw there. Yeah, that was perfect. Worked out perfect. So thank you. Ooh, you scared.
Yeah. How long?
Just 2 weeks. We're on it.
I'm gonna call your dad. How's he doing? Yeah. Tell him I miss him. My grandson's already asked about his tickets. He's playing football in middle school. He's in middle school. Yeah, he lost. I think.
What positions do you play? They're standing.
Yeah, I don't know anything about position. Carries the ball.
You're running back?
Running back, that's what it's running. Median is public space though.
I'll show you, Jess.
Yeah, it's just lost.
Some creators were going to make If they were actually in the road, it would be a different story.
Right.
Yeah, we looked at all that.
All right.
But see, I have.
Well, this might be the whole thing.
Oh, you too, you practice?
Well, this is actually the dance.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
So which